Hi students, coming to the next topic in the subject database management system is ER model to relational model. So far we have seen that different ER diagrams. So the ER diagrams will be represented by using the components of ER components. And now let us see the ER models to relational model. Actually, some of the methods are automated and some of them are manual. So everyone will knows that some of the methods are automated and some of them are manual. So the manual things we have to be developed. ER diagrams mainly comprises of, if you take the ER diagrams mainly comprise of entity, so it's having entity and its attributes, entity and its attributes, and one more thing is relationship. So the ER diagram mainly comprises of entities and its attributes and relationship, which is associated, the relationship which is association among entities. So it should be association among entities. So this ER diagram, whatever the ER model you have taken, this mainly comprises of entities and its attributes and the relationships. Now let us see, if you want to know about the relational model, so the relational means it's just a communication between one entity to another entity. So these relation model can be represented by using mapping entities. So that you have to be remembered, mapping entities. So the relational model depends upon the mapping entity. So everyone knows that I already explained. An entity is a real world object. So this object may be a physical or the conceptual estimation. So this is an entity is a real world object with some attributes. So if you take the mapping entity means every mapping is having some process. If you take the mapping entities like student is the entity name, and here the attributes of the students are class, name of the student, and roll number, and the subject the student is having. So these are the attributes for this entity. So when what we coming to the mapping entity, so the process for this mapping is, let me write the points for the process of this mapping entity. How we can process? First one is, first you have to create table for each entity. So whatever entity you have taken, that student is the entity. For this entity you have to first create a table. After that, entity's attribute should become whatever the entities. So for the entity's attributes should become fields of tables with respective data types. So this is, you have to remember. So whatever the attribute you have taken, those attributes should be represented by using their respective data types. So here is student is a table name, that is the entity. First you have to create a table of a student, and for each entity of this is the entity, the student, for each entity attribute should become a field. So these are the fields of a student table, that is the name, class, subject, and roll number. So for these fields you have to declare with data types. If roll number is there, the roll number should be it's integer, and the name, it's integer, and the characters will be there. Whereas name is compulsory, it is a character. So like that, for every field of an entity should be declared with respect to data types. So that is the second process for mapping process. And the third is you have to declare a primary key. Declare primary key. So this is a mapping process. So these are the steps you have to follow for if you take a single entity. So this is an entity. For this entity, first you have to create a table, and after that you have to declare a data types for each attribute, and you have to declare a primary key. Here roll number is the primary key because it is unique. So the roll number is different for each and every student. So it should be unique. That's why we make it as a primary key. So this is about the mapping entity.